Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Man's No Bull Beer Reviews. Today I have another beer from Resident Culture Brewing Company out of Charlotte, North Carolina. This is part of their Imperial Stout series. The other ones I've done have been all in cans. They started doing like even bigger versions of their Imperial Stouts in these matte black bottles, which I think is pretty cool. This one's called Ego Death, and the description on the back says Imperial Stout with hazelnuts and cacao nibs, and it is 12.5 ABV. So I'm going to crack it open and see what we got. I haven't had this yet. I was out of town. They released this over Christmas. The last stout release they did was, the beer was super, was really thick. Just a massive beer. So I'm assuming and hoping this is something similar to that. It's always so hard to tell like how much you're actually pouring out of a bottle whenever they're like so heavy like this. So you can see it pours like an inky black color with a nice small, and I didn't pour that much. I just wanted to be able to open in the air. A nice small tan to brown head. It does have a little bit of like a cola highlights on the edges, but it is pretty dark. Man, that's it is a lot of hazelnut, but it also smells like coconut too, which is really strange because there's not coconut in this. I definitely get hazelnut more than chocolate, which is interesting because I think every one of the big stouts they've done have had cacao nibs in it, and I've always liked that they played such a big role. A lot of these big stouts with a bunch of different stuff in them, a lot of times there's cacao nibs, but they really don't have a chocolate flavor, but theirs definitely do. It's pretty much all hazelnuts, to be honest. Which I'm not complaining. It smells really nice. So I do get a little bit of the chocolate underneath, but it's definitely presenting as like dark baker's chocolate, which I think you want in something like this because it's so sweet and big. Like I don't want like a Hershey syrup chocolate because that would just make this feel even bigger. So it's pretty sweet. But it's definitely not like to the nth degree where I feel like it's hurting my teeth and I can't even drink it. But it is just it's ton of hazelnut. Like I said, it's almost coming off as like coconutty to me. But I do get some of the dark chocolate. The other good thing is there isn't nice like underlying bitterness to it, which I think if that bitterness wasn't there, it would be way too sweet. But I mean, you do get a nice bitter, roasty Imperial Stout character. You know, some of these pastry stouts, I feel like they're not even that hopped, and like that's why they have no balance. This is definitely sweet and very forward on the additives, but it also does have a nice roasty beer underneath it. Um, it is also very, very viscous. Uh, it's not. It's not like as thick as that the Boss Woman that I did a review for from High Branch not too long ago. That was almost like comically thick, where it just didn't even make sense for that beer. It just almost seemed like there was just like something added to it, and it was just there's no way that they achieved that from brewing. I don't know. I could be completely wrong about that, but that was just kind of the perception that I had from it. This isn't quite to that level. It's definitely very, very viscous. But I think, this is like the level of sweetness and viscosity that I prefer in a quote unquote pastry stout. Which I generally don't like them as much as more traditional, like drier imperial stouts. But I do appreciate the ones that are well done, and I think this definitely falls into that category. I I think this is really, really good. And I will say, I'm sure part of it is because of the sweetness. That's how a lot of these work. But that usually, even if you can't taste the alcohol in the really sweet ones, you feel it, in the throat and stuff because you can't really hide it there. But I barely even get any heat in the swallow. It's pretty crazy. Like I would, just by the viscosity, I would probably guess that this is a pretty big beer and just everything else that's going along with it. But really, so now that I got, sometimes if you're drinking IPAs, you burp and you get some of that IPA flavor when you burp. It's really weird. I burped and I got like a big, like, chocolatey character that I wasn't really tasting in the beer, so that's kind of cool. Uh, Yeah, I don't know. I do really like this, but I don't know how I'm gonna feel about this by the time I get towards the end of the bottle. That's the only complaint I would have about this. Um, but again, that's the case with most of these types of beers. So they're definitely hitting the spot when it comes to trying to make a pastry style stout that most people want. Um, it's not necessarily my thing. It definitely isn't my thing for like the long haul. But in at least this, I feel like I don't. If I split this with one person and I had 8 ounces of it, 8.5 ounces of it, that would be a perfect serving of it. Some of the super sweet ones, I don't even want like a 5 ounce taster pour of it. So this is not even close to that level. I think this might become a little taxing towards the end, so I'm definitely gonna drink this over a long period of time tonight. But uh, this is definitely a lot more drinkable than say like Angry Chair stouts or like the Hidden Springs beers or trying to think like the Answer, the Ondal things. Like to me that those are pretty much undrinkable. They're just too sweet. Um, yeah, this is really, really well done. I think this really falls in line with the Twice as Lonely. As far as it's similar to that. This one is probably actually like not quite as big as that one, which I think is a good thing. I don't necessarily need 14 and a half. 12 and a half is plenty big. Yeah, I mean, if you like hazelnut and chocolate, this beer is, you can't go wrong with this. This is one of the best hazelnut imperial stouts I've ever had for sure. Um, and I love it. I mean, again, I usually hate on these types of things. Maybe I'm being a little bit more generous because I love resin culture, but I don't think I am. I think they really hit the sweet spot no pun intended, of still hitting all the pastry stout marks, but not being like over the top sweet. So very, very well done. I think this was only like $13 a bottle, which, by 12 years ago standards is crazy, but by today's standards, it's actually pretty cheap. And I don't know if I want to say pretty cheap, but it's not expensive. It's pretty standard for that type of thing. So I definitely think it's worth it. And so they did another version of this with vanilla, which I will also be reviewing sometime soon. And that one's gone, but they still have like a small amount of these bottles left. So if they still have some left when I go there next, which I'm guessing they won't, but if they do, I might grab one or two more because this is really, really good stuff. So this is definitely a buy for me. Their stout game is really becoming on point on top of all the other great stuff they already do. So for sure, check them out if you haven't been convinced by my other reviews. Maybe this one will convince you because they're really starting to compete with some of the big boys in the country right now. So definitely check them out. That's all I got on this one. Please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think, and I look forward to doing the next one. Thanks.